All right, so it's that time of year again. The winter is over, it is officially spring, and I'm trying to get some of these rhodie beds pruned up so that they bloom beautifully, and then as they put on new growth through the summer, that new growth is full and beautiful, and it's not competing with a bunch of other low-growing branches, because I like these things to look like trees. So I'm gonna take you out and show you what I've been doing lately, pruning up some of these beds, remulching some of these beds, and getting them in good shape. All right, we'll start over here. So just to give you an understanding and a panoramic view of everything, this is the front of my property, and we started out over planting in this bed here. Actually, it was these big beds in the center, and then I started on the edge, and we went all the way around and planted all of these beds. We've got our front driveway going out that way, some fir trees, and then this area over here was one of the last areas we did. We've got our little bed right here, and then all the way up, these are all my species all going down through there, and those end up, there's the dump truck, and those end up going on the other side of the house over there. So you'll notice that we started over here years ago, and this side over here is more mature. I've pruned up some of these beds over time and really cleaned them up and mulched over and over again, so it looks more refined. It looks like a cleaner, more beautiful area. And when this grass really starts growing and it's mowed fresh and everything's edged, man, it looks good in the spring, and just all this area lights up with color here. And then over on this side, I haven't quite made it back over here, because as I planted, I then had to go back and start cleaning up the other side. So this is going to be one of the next projects, probably for later in the summer, because I got to finish up the other side. But we're going to go through this whole bed, we're going to clean it up, prune everything up, remulch it, and it'll look equally as good on the other side. Same with this. This was the last bed that we did with all the species and some other hybrids in there, but it just needs time for them to grow and mature. Maybe next year we'll get to them, we'll prune that whole bed up and get it going. But let's take a look real quick here. So I just did this. This bed right here really needed it, and I went ahead and pruned everything up, and then got all this mulch under here, pulled all the weeds up and everything, and it looks a lot better. But this is what they start looking like when we get everything completed. Now, what this does, what I like doing this for, is when I prune them up from the bottom like trees, then the top growth that comes out in the summer is new and fresh, and those roots underneath don't have to support quite as much top growth. All the stuff I pruned off from down below doesn't have to be supported anymore, so the new growth that does come out is even more just fresh and beautiful and big and full, because the plant doesn't require as much water, and they just it helps them kind of take off to a new level. Within another 2 years, this bed right here will look more mature, and these rhodies will be even bigger and more beautiful and just bloom even better. So that's kind of what we're doing here over the last few years with all these beds. So I showed you this bed here in a video a couple weeks ago. See, this is why I planted all those green giants, all this traffic here. Oh, eventually it'll block it out, but I came through, I pruned up this bed here. I haven't mulched it yet. I pruned up that bed way over there, and you can see we got a little rhodie blooming in there. We'll get over there in a sec. I finally made it around to this guy. This, you couldn't even see through this. You couldn't even walk through it, nothing. And I went ahead and limbed up all the branches underneath and got everything nice and high and real tight and good looking, pruned off any, you know, just scraggly branches, and got everything pruned up, so you just got the prominent top buds going over here. And man, when all this starts blooming, it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. I still need to put bark on this bed and get rid of some more weeds, but that's going to be coming down the road. But let's walk over here real quick. Man, when this grass starts really coming on green and it's mowed, this whole area just looks beautiful. Let's go into this bed here. Look at it, guys. We already got rhodies blooming. I showed you that Peter Falk. I've been taking pictures of that. This is a species right here, and this one's called Thomsonii. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Just a deep red, and it's an early bloomer. We still got a lot more buds over here that are going to start blooming. But isn't that absolutely gorgeous? I love this one. And this is a tree like rhododendron. You can see it wants to grow really nice and upright. And I went ahead with this one, pruned a whole bunch of low-growing branches so that those roots only have to support the top growth. And then that new growth will look that much more beautiful because it's supported by a big root system All right, so we were just standing over in this bed over here behind the bed that I'm right kind of in, and you can see those Thomsonii blooms way up over there. So coming over here, this is the next project. This was one of the first beds that I put in here, and it has overgrown, but that's okay. These rhodies have grown big and beautiful, and what we need to do now is prune all of this back, get some of these blackberry bushes out, and of course we'll use a shovel this time. But all this needs to get cleaned up, and when this is all cleaned up and pruned up and has mulch under it, oh man, it is just gonna look good. But I already started down on the other side over here, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm gonna walk way down here, and then we'll start back up. All right, so here we are on the other side. We were just standing way over there by, I think it's, where are we at? That big tree right there. And now this is the other side of this long bed on the side. That's our fence line. That's our neighbors over there. But you can see the fence right here. That's our property boundary. We originally had a tree. This big tree right here was right on the fence line, and I had it taken down and left that big stump there just as kind of a nursery stump, just to help absorb moisture during the rainy period, and then give it off during the hot, dry periods, and it's worked out great. You can see these Virginia Richards rhododendrons right here, and they are absolutely gorgeous. It's a beautiful variety, and these guys are gonna bloom great. Now, like I said before, I've been pruning up this bed. So I started over here, and I got all the way along here and pruned up about halfway up to about that big tree right there, and I need to get the other side, but we got all this side done. But when I started, you could not see the ground under there. Couldn't even see it. These things were so full that you couldn't even see the ground. Now I'm going to get in there, and I'm going to remulch everything eventually here and get it all cleaned up and edge real well, and it's just going to look beautiful, and it'll be good to go for a long time. This bed over here, this was actually the first one that I ever put in. My dad calls it the salad bowl because it was our first rhododendrons we ever bought, and I put them all together, and at one point they were separated. You can see the different stalks underneath, but they've grown into each other over time, and it's just a big mass of color that lasts for probably a month and a half. And then I put this bed in, and the other one behind, and then this one went in. And now I have actually done the landscaping on these guys. I've gone and pruned all them up a couple of years ago and remulched, but I'm now needing to get to this side. So let's see a little bit about what I do. Oh yeah, I thought I'd show you real quick. So there's where we were just standing. There's the bed I've been working on, pump house. And then right over here is where I put that new bed that you guys saw last year. And I put a video, or I made a video about that. I'll put a link in the description below. But you can see these rhodies in here that we planted are full of buds and looking absolutely beautiful. We're going to have a ton of blooms going on in here this year. I thought it was going to take a couple years, but we've already got lots of flower buds starting to ripen and looking like they're just going to be exploding with color here real soon. All right, first things first, don't cringe. We got to cut down that Jean Marie de Montague because it is overgrown, it looks ugly, and it needs better branching from down below. Don't worry, it's an older variety. It will bounce back and sprout new growth from down below, but we got to take it down first. And I've got others on the property in other places. That's it. That's what you wanted, right, girls?
That's not what I wanted.
I thought that's what you wanted.
I just meant to do the end ones.
I thought you were going to be like the bottom of it.
I thought you were just going to do those guys and leave that one. I hope it's not dead.
I know, you're sad. All right, so there it is. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you know, if it was the only rhododendron you had, but we've got a mass of rhododendrons planted all along here, and this thing isn't even going to make a dent in the blooms this year, but it really needed to get cut back so that it can regrow new growth from down below and put up more branches so it looked like a nicer plant, like some of these along here, and not just this big scraggly thing. And you know, that's part of landscaping, so there you go. But look what we found in the process, and I'm finding this as I'm pruning all over. We've got a new little fir tree. This is some rich soil, and we've got little firs and cedars sprouting up all over the place, including some big leaf maples. So like way down low here. Go ahead and drag them out of the way. at how much it's opening that area up already. All right, go ahead, Allie. Let's get her. See, I just kind of go after these lower branches that are sticking out further along the bottom. They just weigh the plant down. They weigh this top growth down, and then it doesn't look as good. And so all this pruning down low will bring all these branches more upright, and then the top growth will be able to bush out more and look more beautiful. Is it rooted? Do you find another layer? Look at that, a whole new, brand new rhododendron. I may not worry about that. Well, actually, I don't have any potted Denali, do I? I don't think I do. Maybe we should take that guy and pot him up.
Yes.
I think we'll do that. So we'll go through and clean the rest of this.
Dad.
Big leaf maple. All right, so there it is, all finished up. You can see under all these rhodies now, and everything's just cleaned up real nice. Now I need to come back and I need to bark all this, and eventually it'll look really nice and clean, but that's going to take time. First I need to finish pruning everything way back, which includes all of these big guys, and then I think we're going to tackle this little project next. In fact, I'll set the camera up and you guys can see a before and after. All right, so there's the mess. We need to get all this pruned up. I'm going to go ahead and do it, and we'll cut right to when all of this is done now. There it is, 2 days later, and one girl's birthday party down. All this has been finally pruned up. It took a little while, but doesn't that look so much better? Let's take a look here real quick. So we got all these guys all pruned up under here. All of these rhodies all pruned up. That was such a mess. I had all kinds of thorny vines and everything all throughout here. And now you can actually see all the rhododendrons, and they just look so much healthier and fuller and more beautiful now that they've been pruned up. I got all the dead material out of there, all the stuff from underneath. We got way down under there. You couldn't even see all that under there. And now the last thing to do is just to bark this whole area, and it is going to look so nice when I put some fresh bark. I've got a little bit of mulch over there, but I've got to finish this side. I've got to come around over here, and I got to get all the vines out in there and prune all that stuff back up, but it's looking good so far. Here's something I thought would be interesting to you guys. I haven't actually touched this bed in this area for years. It's just grown up. The weeds, the vines, the rhodies, everything. I just water. I haven't been able to walk through here in so long. It's crazy, but look what I found over here. As I was pruning, I found this throughout all these beds. We've got little seedlings popping up everywhere. I've pulled a few up. There's another one. Let's look at this guy. Little fir seedling. Isn't that cool? They're just popping up everywhere, just naturally. Little cedar, western red cedar there. Another little cedar right here. They're just popping up. I'm probably gonna pot a lot of these guys up here. If we go over here, I saw, let's see if I forgot I even planted these things. I've got hydrangeas. These are the Hug Point hydrangeas that I did in the original video of hydrangeas several years ago. And I've got two of them, one right over there. They're just starting to put out some new growth right here. So that'll be cool. We've got plants I forgot about. And I think I just planted those last year. So over the years, they should start growing more and more. I just saw another one I hadn't seen. Little fir seedlings. Isn't that cool? Everywhere we go. We got another one right over here. Little fir. Growing up beautiful. There's another one. Right through there. Isn't that neat? Little cedar. They're just popping up everywhere, man. So this side of the property tends to bloom a little bit later in the season, but I've noticed some things on the other side in the species area where I've got a lot of earlier blooming rhodies. We've got some buds starting to open. Let's go take a look at them. So this is the other side of the place that I was showing you earlier, and we've got all of these little PJM Elite planted along here. They actually line the entrance between these two huge trees right here back into the woods, and eventually I want to clear all that back in there and have more rhodie beds, but these guys are really starting to bloom nicely. They're real pretty. They'll get big over time, and they'll just make a nice nice entrance on either side here into there. We've got some really big buds starting to form on this Rhododendron Kinsengii. This is a species, and it gets some big buds on it. Look at the size of these things. Just compared to my hand, I love these things. They are just some beautiful buds on these rhododendrons. They got such interesting colors and patterns all throughout them. This guy really suffered though. Oh, there's one. It's about ready to blow up there. Look at that. This one really suffered though. I think it got some dieback in the roots a few years back. The sun's coming out here. and the top growth kind of suffered, but it's starting to recover. We're getting nice healthy buds, and over time it should become a big tree. So I just take care of it real carefully, make sure it gets watered well and fertilized. And there's my 2 Sina grandi, my massive leaf rhododendrons. I love these things. These are the ones that get 3-foot leaves, 3 foot long each leaf in the wild. Over here they get, you can see, about 1.5 feet, some of them 2 foot long. I mean, that is a huge leaf. I love these things. They need a more, I don't know, just a more shaded environment, and really they're in a tough spot right here because the more water these are going to get, the more growth they're going to get on them. But they're planted right at the base of these massive fir trees, and right behind me is another massive fir tree like that. But I just make sure I got tons of water going to them constantly through the summer. I come out here and water them every other day, it seems like, and good amount of fertilizer, and eventually these guys are going to get big enough, and hopefully I'll be able to either air layer or take some cuttings off of them. These are actually cuttings, both of these. A lot of people say you can't do cuttings of species or they don't root very easy, but the first year I ever tried it, the parent actually died of these 2 after I took the cuttings. I didn't mean for that to happen, but it happened, and thank God these survived. But I took 3 cuttings off of these, and these 2 made it. I think there were 3, but these 2 made it, and they're doing great. You can see them growing really nice here. And then finally, I was really excited to see these 2 pop up. So this is a native plant to China. I'll show you, I still have the tag here. It is called, I don't know, what's that called? Can I even say it? Podophyllum pleanthum, I think that's it. But it is a beautiful, beautiful undergrowth plant that's native to China. And I got this at the Rhododendron Species Botanical Garden. They also sell a lot of native plants that are native to the regions of the world where the rhodies come from. And this was one of them, and so where some of the species come from. Anyway, they plant these little understory plants in the areas where they're related to those species. It's a beautiful little guy, but when it comes up, it forms a big, like, giant lily pad on top of this long stem, and it flowers first too before it goes to that. But it's really neat seeing this emerge every year. I planted 1 plant originally, and just 1 of these came up the first 2 years. This is the first year I've seen 2 of them come up. Over time, it's going to spread and fill in this whole area here, and then when they grow in the summer, it's just a canopy about 2 foot high of little lily pads. There's a little snow lady blooming on the back side of those Sina grandi over there. Those big leaf guys that I was just showing you. And these are awful beautiful when they're blooming. I've got a mature one over on the other side of the place, and they're filled in real nice. But these, I planted 4 of them here, and they should fill in over time. A lot of weeds down there. I need to take care of that, but this bed's probably going to come next year. All right, so I think I'm going to end that one right there, and we'll come back and show you when more things are going on in the garden. So the bloom season has commenced, and we're starting to see little bits and pieces all throughout the nursery starting to bloom and just look awesome. So now that I'm getting everything cleaned up on this side of the property, it's looking really great. I'm excited to move forward on this. I'll show you guys that as we go through the spring. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to follow along and see how things evolve as the spring and summer come on. Have a fantastic week, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Adios!